be reading?
Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Leah. And today we are talking about my new hate passion. Obsession. My hate read. My I wish I would have never heard of these books.
Oh my gosh.
I actually spent actual money on it to purchase it. So now I have to finish it.
Yeah, you are pretty hardcore with the obsession of not ever stopping a book if you don't like it. Very easily, I think sometimes, especially with audiobooks, if I hear a narrator's voice or they say words weirdly, I just am like, meow. Skip this book.
I will finish what I fucking start, which is a good thing most of the time, but a real bad thing when it comes to shitty ass books. So,
especially books that are this long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the books
I have them. I bought it as an ebook. And I have my font at fairly small. I'll show you my font. This is what I read at.
Whoa, that's ridiculous.
It's teeny tiny.
That's ridiculous.
And it is, I'm currently on page 2226. So you can only imagine at normal font size.
Look at my font size on this book.
Yeah, mine is about a third of the size of your font size. This would be 6,000 pages long.
My font size is so big today. I was waiting for lunch for us, and there wasn't so many people around. But I was reading my book, my ebook, while I was there, and I was thinking, they're in a scene right now where he's going down on her, and there's a lot of explicit words happening, and I wondered if people could also read what I'm reading, and would they be like, this chick is reading fucking porn out in public? And I would be like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And not just regular porn. This is this is porn with a bull rider. That is the theme of this book. And he goes down on her while she's on the phone with her ex-boyfriend, who's a real big douchebag because he was her doctor as a teenager. Blech.
Yeah. No good. No, don't like that. All right. But, we did talk about it this summer where we saw that women do have the ability to read porn in public. Which is great.
And not only ebooks, too, regular books, because the covers of them are, so fun and flirty, and the girl's skirt is wisping in the air, Marilyn Monroe style. Inside that book, it's dirty.
It's porn. It's porn. It's just straight up porn. Some better than other.
Oh,
but,
yes.
Yeah.
This one is good.
I kind of wish that they would have had more graphic covers so we'd know if the porn was good or not, because it is hard to tell on some of these books.
So it's put the girl in a certain position on the cover.
Tell me, is it going to be missionary with eye contact, or will we have variation?
Are they gazing into each other's eyes in the cover? Or is he kneeling down in front of her?
Is it fade to the next day, or will we get details?
Oh, I can't fade to the next day. It burns inside of me. I just read this book that was called The Cheat Sheet. And they were this friends to lovers, which I'm not a big fan of the trope. Because you're not friends to lovers unless you have poorest communication ever for years and years where you guys don't even tell each other how you feel. And I hate that so much.
You don't like the bad communication?
I hate bad communication trope. It's the worst on the planet. Anyways, this couple is 15 years in love with each other, and they don't tell each other until they finally tell each other. And I think they get married within 1 week.
Of course. But they have known each other for forever. So maybe the quick marriage is not a bad thing. But what did we read? We haven't even said to people here what we're reading. I've read, and you've read the first part of this. This is a 3-part story. And I'm actually
the book we're talking about today.
150 pages in my teeny tiny font away from finishing this piece of shit. It's the All Souls trilogy, it's called. Yes. The first one is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. And Deborah, I fucking hate you. I do. I hate you with a fucking passion. I am sorry. Your books are the fucking worst pieces of shit I have read in a very long time.
It's so ridiculous. First of all, I started to read A Discovery of Witches before I read the court books. Sarah J. Maas, and
so you had no taste in books at that point.
What are you talking about? It's still my favorite
book. Not read No, but you've not read quality literature like Addie LaRue and Eleanor Oliphant.
Yeah, okay. Those books are awesome too. But still, I don't need to have this like fancy pants literature for it to be my favorite. I don't mind like guilty pleasure books being my favorite books.
Pleasure books either. But this is not guilty pleasure. This is just bad. This is boring.
They made a Netflix series of it.
I know.
That is massively popular.
It's on HBO, I believe.
HBO series.
Yeah. I don't
Super
understand
popular.
why. I do not.
Excellent
I really
series.
do not understand. For a few reasons. So basically, to quickly describe what the frick this book is. And, I mean, we're in present time. In Oxford, it starts with our main character, Diana. And Diana Bishop is 30-ish professor at the university there. She's a tenured professor at Yale.
Yeah.
And she's currently in Oxford studying and teaching because she studies alchemy as her her thing. That's what she studies. That's what she teaches. That's her thing. And she calls up, and it turns out that Diana is also a witch. And in this present world we live in, humans are supposed to be unaware of the presence of witches, demons, and vampires. But so far, there's not been a single human they have met in these entire 3 books that don't actually know of the existence of these creatures. So this is like the worst kept secret in the whole fucking world because everyone knows about it. And wherever they go, they're like, oh, no one can know about us. But everyone fucking knows. And they tell everyone all the time, I'm a vampire. Oh, and we're demons. And Diana is the witch. And she's the bishop witch. And bishop witches are powerful. But she doesn't practice her magic. And she is proud of being ignorant. And she's proud of resisting the urge to use her magic. And she doesn't want to use it. And she's very, like, obnoxious about it. And then she calls up all these documents in the Oxford Library, in the Bodleian. And one of them comes up, and it doesn't have like a proper slip and stuff. They talk a bit about it, and then the book won't fucking open. And she puts her hand on it, something happens. Yeah. It opens up, she looks at it a little bit. It's a bit weird. She hands it back. It goes back down in the stacks.
And she's the only person that has seen this book. And
yeah, but we don't know this at this point. Like, it's just another book. And then as soon as she does that, the whole fucking Bodleian is now full of vampires, witches, and demons.
Like drew them there like a beacon.
Which she knows because she can feel their eyes on her, like vampires feels like ice and snowflakes, and demons feel like sparks, and witches feel like something else. I don't know. She can feel their eyes on her anyways. Okay. And witches cannot lie to each other. And there's this awful witch, Peter Knox, who tries to break into her brain. Yeah. And then there's the handsome vampire, Matthew.
And they pass each other at Oxford, and
he stalks her. He breaks into her house.
There's an instant connection, so he stalks her. And
not even an instant connection.
No, but it's the instant pull to each other because they ended up being fated mates.
But maybe if you watch the TV show, they managed to convey this. In this book, at no point, even though they say it with words many times. Yeah. I still, after finishing almost all the way through the 3rd book, do not understand why Matthew and Diana are together, because they have zero chemistry, they have zero compatibility. I don't understand why they like each other. And my biggest thing with this book is, like, we get descriptions of Diana. Her hair changes when she moves in time because she's also time walking. We find out in book number 2. And a very powerful witch. She's a weaver. She can create new magic. You know, she's like the witchiest of all the awesomest witches in the world of witches. And Matthew, of course, is he is everything.
He's everything.
Literally, he is everything.
How old is he? He's
1,500 years old, and he is.
And that's why he's everything, because he has.
But it's not even why he's everything. He is everything because he is everything. Like, they won't stop. He's like a spy. He's an enforcer. He's an assassin. He's a prince. He's a vampire. He's a scientist. He's a doctor. Like, he is everything. Like this review for the 2nd book that I sent to you says, like, Diana is still the most awesomest witch ever, who can do nothing practical. When trouble finds them, they change location. And this is true for the whole 3 books. As soon as there's any trouble, they move to one of their other houses. And they have a fucking million houses. I am annoyed to say they were just given a castle in France. very recently in this book, which Diana didn't like because it wasn't as cozy as she'd been told that would be. Because she's a fucking horrible person on top of that. And Matthew isn't just a highly intelligent vampire. He's also friends with anyone who matters. And this is true. Like, this is so ridiculous in this book. Like, in book 2, they go back to 1590s or like 1580 something.
Okay.
And he is friends with the Queen. He is friends with William Shakespeare. He is friends. Like, he knows every person of historical significance ever. And was best friends with them.
Yeah.
All of them. Just like, he was like going along, living in his time, going like, this person's gonna be remembered by history. Let's go make friends.
Right.
You know, like he fucking knows everyone. It is ridiculous. He is also a member of 2 powerful secret organizations and a spy. And he's an assassin, and he's all of these things. It is absolutely ridiculous. And he's like incredibly powerful and influential. And like this review says, these 2 are like super paranormal heroes whose fatal flaws are their incredible stupidity and inability to plan ahead. Because this is the only true thing throughout these 3 books, is that they know that this book that Diana manages to call up, the Ashmole 782, which is the Book of Life, which is the witch's first grimoire, it holds the secret to these 3 otherworldly creatures, or like supernatural creatures, witches, demons, and vampires. So everyone wants it for their own reasons. Like, the witches think it's the first grimoire. The vampires think it's the Book of Life that explains their existence. Demons is highly unclear why they want it, but they want it to. So when she gets this book, and this whole story is kind of tied to the book. It's missing 3 pages, so they're hunting down these pages.
In time.
No, not even. Because all the pages are in the present time. So they're going back to 1590s is for Diana to learn to be a witch. Which, yeah, she gets some teachers. A few of them get killed for associating with her. That's okay, I guess. She gets very upset that people die on her behalf, but she's also incredibly stupid. She's not careful. She is like extravagant in everything she does. She attracts attention everywhere. She's not cautious. She's not careful. And then she's like, oh no, people are dying because of actions I made. That's a shame. You know, and now I'm going to be all brooding about it. And it's like, fuck, plan ahead. And instead of then actually spending the time when she's back in time learning to be a witch, she trapezes off through Europe, first to a little tour to France to meet her Matthew's father, who is a vampire. He's his sire, I guess, and the head of the Claremont family. Yeah. And he is dead in present time. Right. So she gets to meet him, and it's this whole thing that basically affects everything going forward.
He was the best part of that.
He makes her his daughter, a blood-sworn daughter, and all of this and that. And then they go trapezing off to Prague in search of the book, granted. But at no point does she actually spend any time learning to be a witch. Like, she just does these other things. And when she goes to Prague, the emperor there is like falls in love with her and wants to take her from Matthew. And he knows that Matthew and her are mated and married, but because the Covenant, which is like the council of witches, vampires, and demons, they made an agreement saying that they should never mix. He knows, because he knows of vampires and witches and demons' existence, that these 2 cannot be together for real. So he's like, fair game, I'm gonna take Diana. And Diana's like, don't like you. He's like, don't care, I'm an emperor. And they basically molests her on and off. Not fully, but like he grabs her inappropriately and just makes Matthew very angry and brooding. And Matthew is like, yeah, he's mated to Diana, he's in love with her, but he doesn't sleep with her.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then, he doesn't have time. I guess he's so busy with his spy work and his other shit. And then when they're at in France with Philip, like Matthew's father, they have the wedding. Yeah. And this, so boring. I fell asleep so many times reading about this. This is like book 2. Book 1 is like Twilight for grown-ups. Yeah.
That's what
but
I'm saying.
bad.
I didn't remember it being so dull the way that you are describing
Book
it.
1 is like Twilight for grown-up, but boring. Book 2 is a history lesson. And that's all it is. It's every influential historical person in the late 1500s is introduced by name because they meet them all. And I don't know half of these people because I'm not up to speed on like scientists in the late 1500s. So I'm like, who the fuck is this person? Like, I don't know and I don't care, but I think it's great that you hang out with them, I guess.
Sure.
Listening to their talks.
But
and
it gave no purpose to the book?
None. And then it's like there's also the stupidity that keeps coming back into it because there's like Christopher Marlowe, who's apparently a writer. He was competing with William Shakespeare at the time. Like, he wrote something else that's very different. And his name is Kit. And in this book, they make him gay and they make him in love with Matthew. And when she goes back in time, she's like, oh, I can't wait to speak to him. I love his book and blah, 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 blah. And then when they get there, Kit's like, fuck, I don't like this lady. She's taking my man.
Yeah.
So he's like, horrible to Diana like the whole time, and he betrays her, I don't know, 5 times, and still at the end he's like, come outside with me, Lady Diana, like we should go on a walk, and she's like, oh, this is a great idea by this person who's betrayed me so many times, I shall do that. And then it's like surprised when he's betrayed her again, and he's like, fuck, just learn. And every time she's in a situation where she's hurt or threatened, she can't defend herself. She's completely fucking useless. No practical skills whatsoever. So she's a witch, most powerfulest, witchiest of all the witches. But she can't fucking even protect herself or keep herself safe at any point.
No.
Ever.
I actually have this problem with witches altogether in a lot of these books. And I think I've said this to you before. Was that witches rely on having to do things in order to get power. Like, they have to be fast and scribe, or they have to, like, get all of these ingredients that are ridiculous and then make some sort of soup with it and then throw it in the air or in some sort of circle on the ground. Or they need lots of candles all the time.
But not Diana. Diana has the magic on her inside, and she doesn't even have to speak.
Exactly.
She doesn't even have to move her fucking hands. She can just need for it to happen or want for it to happen, then it will happen. But still, at every situation where she should be in a situation where it's like, shit, I need to get away from these people that are trying to kill me, or I want to get away from these people that are trying to kill me, nothing. Oh yeah, she gives birth to a fucking fire dragon that flies out of her chest and is now her familiar. It's also a thing, which is like, this is now your familiar, but they don't get along. They don't particularly like each other. She has to force this thing back into her chest to carry it around where it doesn't fly out. It just goes off on its own. She has zero control over it. And it's like, it's a part of you. Like, what the fuck?
I think I saw this in the second season, because I never read the second book, but I watched the series. And I have to say, the series is good, except Diana is to a T what she is in the book, which means that she is, like, pretentious and incredibly dull.
Yeah. and I think this is my biggest struggle with all of this, because Matthew keeps getting described as very, very handsome. And Diana is astonishing, remarkable. It reminds him of the goddess Diana, all of this and that. But the way she's described in every description, all I see is a slightly overweight, frumpy person who doesn't dress appropriately, like, who dresses in very cheap, ill-fitting clothes.
Yeah.
And this is whole thing in book 2.
Okay.
Where they go back in time and Diana can no longer wear her worn-out yoga pants.
Right.
Which is a big problem because she needs stretchy pants, and in the 1500s, ladies have to wear skirts. But never fear, Matthew can also sew. So he
can also sew. I mean, if you're 1,500 years old, you would also be able to learn how to make clothes.
He cuts up and sews together a pair of his hose so she can have something resembling her beloved stretchy black pants. And this is like a whole chapter of this.
Oh, yeah, but even in the television series, the clothing is like a big part. And you watch her get dressed for like 30 minutes.
Okay, you try reading about her get dressed in like 5 chapters.
I wouldn't be able to.
Like skirt after skirt and all of this. And then, I mean, after the wedding, they finally consummate their marriage. Which you're like, you waited a good book and a half for this at this point.
Okay.
If you thought they had any attraction or were suitable or understand why they're together, why they even like each other, which I don't.
Okay.
And then it comes to the sex, which is like the most boring. It was halfway fade to black, and the shit that wasn't fade to black was boring and stilted. And like my favorite reviewer said, these two, and it's most boring sex scene ever, total snoozer. These two have about as much passion and chemistry as worms mating.
Oh, worms.
And I'm not joking. This is a very accurate description.
I do not know how worms mate.
Me either, but I can see that it's, all you have to do is read this 60 million page long book and you'll get there.
Oh, excellent. Just that. Great.
Yeah. And we haven't even been able to speed it up because I'm fucking reading it.
Right.
Which is like my biggest pet peeve right now, that I'm not fucking listening to this and I could run it at like, I would speed it up to 2 times the pace.
I would have never been able to listen to this book because it's British narration and slow. I would have just fallen asleep constantly.
But even reading it, I've fallen asleep. How long have I been at these
really liked
books
the
now?
first book. I thought it was like creative and interesting. I like it when they're so good. Like,
yeah, but she's not. In the first book, she is not. And the thing is that there's so much continuity errors in the first book that it took me out of the story all the time.
I know. I skip
because
over
it's like
those.
so much of the continuity issues. And then it's just like, it's all the Twilight things, but without the charm of Twilight, if you want. At least Edward and Bella had chemistry. Like, at least when you read that book, like, you're rooting for the love story. It's like at the center of the story. At the center of the All Souls story is a fucking book and history.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And Diana, she will be angry. And it's also the way it's written, which I have a big issue with. Because it's written as if we're supposed to read between the lines and understand stuff, but it's not explained. So it jumps in the story where it's like this situation, blah, blah, and then we get her reaction and we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it doesn't, because they forgot to tell us like what happens in between, like what's been said to get her to react like this. Like, it's so many of these where it's like, I wish there would have been an editor that could have been like, this is too much history lesson. We do not need these 60 pages of description.
Down.
And then, this passage here doesn't really flow because now Diana is pissed off and we don't know why, because you forgot to tell us what actually happened. And there's so many of those that it's ridiculous.
From it being a television show, I think that it's gotten a lot of hype, and maybe the show is better than the book. I mean, it sounds like it's better than the books.
Well, they probably had other writers helping with the
But
script.
Deborah Harkness is a part of it, and she is active on Twitter and social media during every episode that was released.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I would like follow it. I would see what she would say and how she thought the episode went and what she thought about it and stuff like that, and how accurate it was to what she had envisioned when she was writing. And she seems really, really proud of it.
Yeah. But clearly someone gave it 2 free reins. Like, I'm sorry, but this is like the most boring book I've ever read. And I've read
It's not the most boring TV show, though.
I have read textbooks in school. I mean, this puts me to sleep more than any. Like, I rarely slept so early and so well as since I started reading these books. And it's been like weeks now. Like, I usually finish books quickly.
Right.
But I cannot, because it just puts me to sleep.
Yeah.
Immediately, like I feel like I have head wounds from dropping my freaking phone on my face so many times because it's so dull that I just keep sleeping.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so safe to say you're not going to be watching the TV show?
I don't want to dedicate any more time to this piece of shit. And honestly, like, I went and looked at whoever's casted at these people.
Yeah.
And, well, she's too pretty. Diana is not pretty in the book. Like, she is, they say she is, but they describe her as frumpy and overweight. And I don't know, like, she's not described at all.
The actress is not overweight at all.
No, like, but I feel like she's like...
She's a little frumpy, though. They dressed her frumpy.
But I mean, she has like the worst, and then like the descriptions, like it was driving me insane. Like, I do yoga, you do yoga,
yeah.
There's a lot of yoga in this book, in book 1, and I also do horseback riding. Yeah, you horseback ride a bit too.
Yeah.
There's fucking tons of descriptions of horseback riding, and she's like innately good at these things, and it's like, oh, I used to ride horses so much growing up, and then we see her childhood home, and there's not a fucking horse in sight, and no one's around horses, and it's like, where? When? You said you grew up poor. You said you did, like...
Yeah.
I think the best and the only good part about these books, the only good part about these books is the house in like the witch house.
Okay.
I fucking love that house.
Yeah.
It's sighs when people go in because it's tired of people, and if you misbehave, it will just lock you in. It will grow extra rooms as needed. It will like bring out stuff. It will steal shit from you and then return them to you when they feel like you need it. And it would be like just, I love that house. I would have read a whole book just about that house.
That's awesome.
All right, so what do we say? I say don't fucking read this piece of shit. It's
watch
boring.
the show. Okay,
all right.
Watch the show on HBO. Check it out. You're going to love Philippe. He's so handsome.
Yeah, he's a fucking asshole in the book, though.
Oh my God.
I mean, he's not, but he is.
I don't think I've ever heard you swear as much in our life than you have in this one single episode.
I have rarely hated a book as much as I hate this. And I'm not even done yet. Like, it will probably take me to the end of the weekend to get through these 150 pages because I've got to sleep so much.
Well, that's what you could prescribe then. Screw melatonin. Read Discovery of Witches.
Discovery of Witches, particularly book 2 and 3, and you will have no problem sleeping. None
Excellent.
Whatsoever.
All right, guys. Next week we're on to maybe a little more interesting love story. We'll see. Catch you later.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Leah Sanford. Theme music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.